Day 365 of 2025. The final hours. And the atmospheric revolution about to unfold will challenge everything meteorology has taught us about winter patterns. Before this broadcast concludes, you'll understand exactly why the next 4 weeks could become a textbook case study in extreme weather volatility. A thermal anomaly spanning 15 states, temperature departures that defy statistical norms, and at minute 7, the convergence factor that changes the entire equation. But first, the clear and present danger developing at this exact moment. An atmospheric instability is organizing across the Ohio Valley that represents an immediate threat to human life. Not theoretical, not tomorrow. Right now. The next 90 minutes will determine whether thousands of people make it home safely or become statistics. Snow squall development is accelerating along a sharp frontal boundary. The atmospheric profile shows extreme instability typically associated with severe thunderstorms. Except instead of hail and tornadoes, we're getting explosive snow production. The radar signature is distinctive, a thin line of intense echoes. But radar reflectivity doesn't tell the full story. Ground truth reports show visibility dropping from 10 miles to 50 feet in under 60 seconds. That's catastrophic for highway traffic. The physics are straightforward but deadly. A sharp temperature gradient meets lake-enhanced moisture. Add wind shear and you get rotating snow bands. Yes, rotating. These squalls can produce brief spin-ups similar to landspouts. Not strong enough for tornado warnings, but enough to create chaotic wind patterns. Chicago gets the initial development around 5 p.m. Central. The city itself sees heavy snow, but the real danger zone extends eastward. Fort Wayne sits directly in the crosshairs. So does southwestern Detroit. Cleveland and northeastern Ohio face a particularly dangerous setup. The squall line interacts with Lake Erie's shoreline. Enhancement occurs. What was already intense becomes extreme. 3-inch-per-hour snowfall rates. Thunder and lightning accompanying heavy snow. This is meteorological chaos. Here's what happens on the highways. Traffic, moving at 60 to 70 miles per hour. Weather seems fine. Then without warning, white. Total white. Drivers slam brakes. Physics takes over. Vehicles can't stop. Chain reactions begin. 10 car pileups, 20 car pileups. Fatalities. This isn't speculation. This exact scenario plays out every winter with these squall events. Yet people consistently underestimate them. It's just snow, they think. Until they're sliding helplessly into the vehicle ahead. Columbus faces midnight timing. New Year's Eve celebrations interrupted by dangerous travel. Pittsburgh simultaneous. Indianapolis gets perhaps the worst scenario. Transition zone precipitation. Rain changing to snow. Then flash freezing as temperatures plummet. Liquid water on pavement. Temperature dropping through 32 degrees. Within 20 minutes, black ice forms. Invisible to drivers. Invisible to road cameras. Suddenly roads become skating rinks. And people are driving at highway speeds. Then comes the coastal phase. Charleston, West Virginia gets hammered between 4 and 5 a.m. But the system doesn't die there. It taps into Atlantic moisture. A secondary low develops off the coast. Coastal intensification occurs when surface low pressure deepens rapidly. This process, called bombogenesis when extreme AS, takes the initial clipper system and transforms it into something more significant. Cape Cod, Boston, Maine, all face accumulating snow, 6 to 10 inches in heaviest bands. But that's the minor story. The major story is unfolding over the Great Lakes right now and will continue for 72 hours. Lake effect snow machine is operating at maximum capacity. This isn't typical lake effect. This is historic level production. Some computer models show localized totals exceeding 3 feet by Saturday evening. Let me explain the meteorological setup. The Great Lakes are anomalously warm for late December. Water temperatures in the upper 30s to low 40s. That's 10 to 15 degrees above normal. When Arctic air masses with temperatures near zero pass over this warm water, the temperature differential exceeds 40 degrees. That differential creates extreme instability. Moisture evaporates rapidly from lake surfaces. Air becomes saturated. As this moisture-laden air moves onshore and encounters rising terrain, heavy snow develops, but it's not spread evenly. It concentrates in narrow bands. These bands are typically 10 to 30 miles wide. They can persist in the same location for 24 to 48 hours. If you're under a persistent band, snow accumulates relentlessly. If you're 10 miles away from the band, you might see flurries. South of Buffalo, the topography creates enhancement. The Tug Hill Plateau does the same for areas east of Lake Ontario. These regions face 20 to 25 inches of additional snow. Not total. Additional. On top of existing multi-foot snowpack. West of Toronto, 13 inches. Northern Lower Michigan, 8 to 12 inches. Upper Peninsula, 15+ inches in persistent bands. These are serious, infrastructure-challenging snowfall amounts. Now, the cold. What's arriving tomorrow morning isn't just another cold snap. This is dangerous, life-threatening cold. Milwaukee, 0. Madison, 0. Minneapolis, 0 or below. Fargo, -10. International Falls, -15. These are actual air temperatures before wind calculation. Calculate wind chill and the numbers become frightening. -20, -30, -40 in extreme cases. At these temperatures, biology breaks down. Human bodies cannot maintain core temperature. Frostbite develops in minutes. Hypothermia in under 30 minutes for inadequately protected individuals. But the danger extends beyond obvious extremes. Lexington, Kentucky, drops to 30 degrees. That seems mild compared to Minneapolis at 0. But Lexington's infrastructure isn't built for this. Pipes aren't insulated. People don't own appropriate clothing. What's manageable in Minnesota becomes crisis in Kentucky. St. Louis, Indianapolis, Columbus, all hit 15 degrees by tomorrow morning. Any precipitation from tonight, rain, snow, mixed, freezes solid. Roads become ice. Sidewalks become hazards. Water pipes in older homes freeze and burst. And for anyone suffering from weather-sensitive health conditions, the next 72 hours will be medically challenging. Sinus pressure, migraine headaches, joint inflammation, these aren't psychosomatic complaints. Rapid barometric pressure changes trigger genuine physiological responses. Your sinus cavities are air-filled spaces. When atmospheric pressure changes rapidly, the pressure differential causes pain and inflammation. Your joints contain synovial fluid. Pressure changes affect this fluid, causing pain and stiffness. Your blood vessels constrict in response to cold. This triggers migraines in susceptible individuals. Medical research confirms these connections. Weather sensitivity is real, and with the extreme pressure gradients and temperature changes occurring now, symptoms will intensify for millions of people. Now here's the atmospheric paradox unfolding simultaneously. While 2/3 of the continent freezes, the western third experiences tropical-level moisture. Southern California is loading up with an atmospheric river event that rivals some of the most intense on record. Atmospheric rivers are concentrated corridors of moisture originating from tropical or subtropical regions. Picture a river in the sky, typically 200 to 400 miles wide, 1 to 2,000 miles long, carrying water vapor equivalent to 15 Mississippi rivers. When these rivers make landfall, precipitation is extreme. 2 to 4 inches of rain in 12 hours is common, 6 to 8 inches possible in favorable terrain. This moisture is now targeting Southern California. The burn scars from recent wildfires face catastrophic debris flow potential. Fire changes soil chemistry, creates hydrophobic layers. Water doesn't absorb, it runs off. At extreme velocity, carrying everything in its path. Debris flows aren't slow mudslides. They're fast-moving walls of mud, rocks, trees, and debris traveling 20 to 30 miles per hour. They strike with minimal warning. They destroy everything in their path. That's why evacuations are mandatory, not suggested. Los Angeles faces rotating thunderstorms tomorrow. The Storm Prediction Center, the federal agency responsible for severe weather outlooks, issued a marginal risk for tornadoes in Southern California on New Year's Day. After Christmas Day's legitimate tornado, this isn't theoretical. The atmospheric setup supports supercell development. Supercells are rotating thunderstorms. The same storms that produce tornadoes in Oklahoma produce them in California when conditions align. These storms also produce extreme straight-line winds, 50 to 60 miles per hour gusts. Trees already compromised by saturated soil will topple. Power lines will snap. Widespread outages are inevitable. The Rose Parade faces dangerous conditions. Not just wet, dangerous. Lightning, wind, heavy rain, potential thunderstorms during the event. This creates genuine safety concerns for participants and spectators. Now, let me reveal the pattern evolution that dominates January. This is where understanding gives you strategic advantage. After tonight's Arctic outbreak, a fundamental atmospheric reconfiguration occurs. The upper-level pattern that's maintained cold air over the east begins breaking down around January 5th. A massive ridge, high pressure at jet stream level, builds over the Rockies and Central Plains. This ridge acts like a roadblock, forcing the jet stream into a dramatic northward bulge. Gulf moisture streams northward unimpeded. Desert southwest warmth spreads eastward. Temperature departures surge to 15 to 25 degrees above normal. That's not a typo. 15 to 25 degrees. Places that should see highs in the 30s will see 50s and 60s. This is statistically extreme. But between now and January 5th, Arctic air continues draining southward, so you endure several more days of brutal cold before the pattern flips. This creates dangerous complacency. People think finally, winter's over when the warm-up arrives. Then, late January brings the storms. That snowpack built up early January melts rapidly during the mid-month warm-up. 3 feet of snow doesn't disappear instantly, but it melts faster than you'd expect. Temperatures in the 40s and 50s, rain on snow, runoff becomes extreme. Flooding potential develops in areas with frozen ground and deep snowpack. After January 8th, the pattern amplifies dramatically. Computer models show deep troughs diving from Canada repeatedly, strong ridges building over the west. The jet stream configuration looks like a roller coaster. Extreme waves instead of smooth flow. This amplification generates powerful storm systems. Multiple systems, various tracks. Some bringing heavy snow to the Midwest and Great Lakes. Others tracking farther south bringing ice storms. Still others bringing severe weather to the deep south. And here's what creates the emotional exhaustion so many people feel about modern winters. The unpredictability, the whiplash, the financial stress. 60 degrees Monday, 20 degrees Wednesday. Your heating system runs constantly trying to maintain temperature. Energy bills spike, then 2 days later you're running air conditioning. Then back to heat. It's economically draining. Your body can't adapt to these swings. Sleep patterns disrupted, immune system stressed, chronic conditions flare, sinus infections, respiratory issues, joint pain. The constant adaptation wears you down. And psychologically, it's exhausting. You can't plan, can't prepare. Winter clothes one day, spring clothes the next. Snow shovel ready, then putting away lawn furniture. The mental load is significant. Why is this happening? The jet stream behavior has changed. More amplification. Bigger swings. Less predictability. Whether this represents temporary variability or permanent climate shift continues being researched. But the immediate reality is clear. Winters are more volatile now than historical norms. For industries depending on consistent winter, this creates crisis. Ski resorts need sustained cold and regular snow. Instead, they get warm-ups melting base depths, then extreme cold freezing everything solid, then wind-stripping slopes. Operating becomes nearly impossible. Agriculture needs predictable dormancy periods. Fruit trees require chill hours. Freeze-thaw cycles damage crops. Winter wheat needs snow cover. Livestock stress from temperature extremes, yields suffer. Costs increase. Water management faces compounding challenges. Heavy precipitation creates flooding but doesn't recharge aquifers effectively. Rapid snowmelt causes runoff instead of infiltration. Reservoir management becomes reactive instead of strategic. These broader implications matter because they affect food prices, water availability, economic stability. Individual weather events connect to larger systemic challenges. Now let's discuss specific preparation because understanding without action is worthless. For tonight's travel across the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes, if you're on the road when that squall hits, here's what to do. Visibility will drop instantly. Do not panic. Do not slam brakes. Gradually reduce speed. Turn on hazard lights. If you can safely exit the roadway completely, do so. If not, maintain slow, steady speed until visibility improves. Do not stop in traffic lanes. More accidents happen from stopped vehicles being rear-ended than from initial sliding. Keep moving slowly until you can safely exit. Better option. Don't travel. Delay your trip. Weather doesn't care about your schedule. Your life is worth more than any party or gathering. For extreme cold survival, layering is everything. Base layer of moisture-wicking material. Middle insulating layer. Outer windproof layer. Cover all exposed skin. Face masks. Goggles, if outside for extended periods. Understand the medical signs. Frostbite, numbness, white or grayish skin, hard waxy feeling. Get inside immediately. Rewarm gradually with body heat or lukewarm water. Never use direct heat. Hypothermia. Shivering, confusion, drowsiness, slurred speech, loss of coordination. This is life-threatening. Call 911. Move person to warm location. Remove wet clothing. Warm center of body first. Chest, neck, head, groin. For livestock and outdoor animals, shelter from wind is critical. Deep, dry bedding. Constant access to unfrozen water. This is non-negotiable. Increase feed to help animals generate body heat. Check multiple times daily. For California evacuations, mandatory orders mean leave now, not later. Now. Debris flows give zero warning. By the time you see it, you can't escape. Have go bags prepared, medications, documents, cash, chargers, essential items. Know multiple evacuation routes. Primary route may be blocked. Have backup plans. Full fuel tank before evacuation order. Gas stations may be overwhelmed or closed. For power outage preparation, assume outages will occur. Charge everything now. Flashlights and batteries in known locations. Non-perishable food, manual can opener, water supply. If you use medical devices requiring power, have comprehensive backup plans. For Great Lakes Snowbelt residents, minimum 72 hours of complete supplies, not 24 hours, 72. Roads will close. Stores will run out. Deliveries will stop. Food, water, medications, pet supplies, infant needs if applicable, snow removal equipment serviced and ready, backup heating if primary fails, communication devices charged, battery-powered radio for weather updates. Understand snow removal cardiovascular risks. Shoveling heavy snow in extreme cold triggers heart attacks. Take frequent breaks. Stay hydrated. Stop immediately if you experience chest pain, shortness of breath, unusual fatigue, dizziness. Better yet, use snowblowers if available. Service them now. Fresh fuel. Oil check. Spare shear pins. Clear discharge chute before starting. Never stick hands in chute while running. Now, the educational component about atmospheric river science. Atmospheric rivers transport water vapor from tropical source regions toward mid-latitudes. They typically form in association with strong low-pressure systems. The tight pressure gradient creates strong winds that transport massive amounts of water vapor. When atmospheric rivers make landfall, orographic lift enhances precipitation. Air forced to rise over mountains cools. Water vapor condenses. Heavy precipitation develops on windward slopes. The strongest atmospheric rivers are categorized using a scale similar to hurricanes. AR4 and AR5 events produce extreme precipitation and flooding. Current atmospheric river targeting California rates as AR3 to AR4. This is significant. For burn scar areas, the soil science is critical to understand. Wildfires create hydrophobic soil layers through combustion of organic material and soil heating. This layer repels water instead of absorbing it. On normal soil, 2 inches of rain might produce minimal runoff. On burn scar soil, that same 2 inches produces extreme runoff. Water accumulates rapidly, channels form, debris mobilizes, mass flows develop. These flows travel at 20 to 30 miles per hour. They carry boulders, trees, vehicles, structures. They scour channels down to bedrock. They're one of nature's most destructive forces. That's why evacuations are mandatory. Not suggested. Mandatory. The science is clear. The danger is real. Compliance saves lives. For jet stream dynamics and winter pattern evolution, the technical details matter. The jet stream location is determined by temperature gradients between polar and tropical air masses. Stronger gradients mean faster jet stream winds and more stability. Weaker gradients mean slower winds and more waviness. Currently, Arctic warming is reducing polar to tropical temperature gradients. This allows the jet stream to become more amplified, bigger waves north and south instead of smooth west to east flow. These amplified patterns create blocking highs and persistent troughs. Blocking highs lock weather patterns in place. You get persistent warmth or persistent cold instead of progression. Persistent troughs bring repeated storm systems to the same regions. This pattern behavior explains the volatility we're experiencing. It's not random chaos. It's atmospheric physics responding to changing boundary conditions. Now the January regional outlook with probability-based guidance. Northeast, 70% probability of very cold first 10 days with lake effect and clipper snow. 60% probability of significant warm-up second week. 40% probability of major winter storm third week as cold returns. High uncertainty late month. Southeast, 80% probability of cold early month. 70% probability of temperature moderation mid-month. 30% probability of winter weather third week. This is low but non-zero for areas that rarely see snow. Pattern becomes more favorable, though not guaranteed. Midwest and Great Lakes, 90% probability of persistent lake effect early month. 80% probability of significant mid-month warm-up. 50% probability of major late-month storm, uncertainty high on exact track and precipitation type. Deep South, 60% probability of early cold snaps. 70% probability of mid-month severe weather potential. 40% probability of ice potential northern areas late month. West Coast, 80% probability of continued atmospheric rivers early to mid-month. 60% probability of drying trend late month. 70% probability of improved mountain snow late January. These are probabilities, not certainties. Weather forecasting deals with uncertainty. Understanding probability helps you make risk-based decisions. For health management during volatile weather, recognize weather sensitivity as legitimate medical concern. Keep symptom journals. Identify your triggers. Manage proactively. Sinus issues, saline rinses, humidifiers, stay hydrated, anti-inflammatory support. Joint pain, maintain activity, heat therapy, anti-inflammatory medications under doctor guidance. Migraines. Identify triggers, preventive medications, avoid additional triggers during high-risk periods. For financial planning, budget for weather volatility. Extreme weather costs money, heating bills spike, cooling bills spike, emergency repairs, lost work, transportation issues, building financial buffer reduces stress. For mental health, weather-related anxiety and seasonal affective disorder are real. Seek support when needed. Light therapy, counseling, medication if appropriate. Community support, you're not alone in this. The bottom line, immediate danger tonight and tomorrow from snow squalls, extreme cold, and California storms. Quieter early next week. Major warm-up mid-month creating flooding potential. Active volatile late January with multiple significant events. Preparation determines outcome. Knowledge without action is worthless. Act on this information now. Prepare comprehensively. Stay informed continuously. Remain flexible always. Prioritize safety consistently. This is modern winter reality. More extreme. Less predictable. Higher impact. But entirely survivable with proper understanding and preparation. Stay safe, stay informed, stay prepared.